Hi, everybody. Good afternoon. My name is Brent Rice. I'm the Chief Commercial Officer for Autolus and the Managing Director of the U.S. And I'm going to spend the next 15 minutes with you just kind of walking you through the programs that we're developing, the timelines, and some of the innovation that we're bringing to the marketplace. Next slide, please. Or do I use this? There we go. Just a disclaimer, our products are not FDA approved and they're in clinical development. So if we kind of take a look at what we're doing at Autolus as far as developing next generation transformational therapies, there's a few different buckets that we're looking at. One is our lead asset, Obe-cel, which is for relapsed refractory adult ALL. We will be filing a BLA for that product by the end of the year. We'll also be filing applications with EMA and the MHRA in the first half of next year. We have a lot of activity in our pipeline. I'll touch upon that a little bit later. But when we look at Obe-cel, we look at Obe-cel as a product in a pipeline. It has multiple uses and multiple indications, both in B-cell malignancies, but also in other autoimmune diseases. Then we have a whole host of other products that are in development that I'll walk you through. Our manufacturing is very innovative and best in class. It's kind of taking advantage of the latest technologies in manufacturing, not just in how you do it, but how you build and set up the facility. The time it takes to do that, which we did in under 2 years, about a year and a half. It's a modular approach to do that anywhere around the world and stand up another facility. Once you have the land and the footprint, that's the timeline that it takes. It's very quick. We have a number of strategic collaborations. We have over 100 patent families. We have over 1,000 patents that we've generated out of Autolus and University College London, which is our academic partner. We've out-licensed a number of those technologies, like our RQR8 safety switch, to companies like Moderna, Cabaletta, BMS. We have a very strong cash position leading into next year, which we expect and hope that we will get an FDA approvable product by that time. If we take a look at our lead clinical program, Obe-cel, this is a potential standalone therapy for relapsed refractory adult ALL, and I'm going to walk you through some of the data that we shared at ASCO earlier in the year, and we will have another update at ASH in December. So if we take a look at this, one of the ways that we use our innovative IP and our technologies is we incorporate it into our programs. So one of those is our proprietary Cat19 binder that we've incorporated into the construct of Obe-cel. So what does this mean? It gives you potential for improved potency and reduced toxicity. It avoids overactivation of CAR T cells, reducing toxicities. You increase CAR T peak expansion, which gives you increased persistence, and then avoids exhaustion of T cells, which gives you better engraftment and also improved persistence. So how does this work? The binding of this, it's very fast on, very fast off, so you don't get an overproliferation of cytokines. So it only binds for 9.8 seconds. All of the commercially available approved cell therapies use the FMC63 binder, which binds for about 21 minutes. It gives you that overproliferation. If we take a look at the data that we presented earlier in the year at ASCO and EHA, this is really an overview of the study. So I already told you what the indication for. It's for adults. We had 112 patients enrolled, 94 were infused. Just one thing to bear in mind, this study was done in the middle of the pandemic, so everything I'm going to show you, just have that as the backdrop, that it was done in the middle of the pandemic. Very, very challenging time. Autolus is based in London, so the cells for patients in the US go from here to London and back, and you're going to see some pretty astonishing data relative to that. This is a very large patient population. In fact, when we look in cell therapy, it's the largest, most diverse patient population studied for relapsed refractory adult ALL. We had patients ranging from 20 years of age to 81. Prior lines of therapy, greater than 3 lines of therapy. There were a lot of patients. They were sick patients. You can see prior Blina, prior Eno, the combination of the two in the 35-31% range. We also break it down by bone marrow blasts, the percent at screening and the percent at preconditioning. This shows you the level and severity of disease. So respectively, they're around 41 and 49%. So these are very sick patients. And then 19% of patients had extramedullary disease at preconditioning as well. So lots of comorbidities. If we take a look at the Some of the data that we released at ASCO, 76% of the infused patients had a CR or CRI with an overall response rate of 76%. The duration of remission, 61% of responders are in ongoing remission with no subsequent anti-cancer therapy, so that means no subsequent transplant. They have not moved on to transplant. The duration of remission, we're looking at a median of 14.1 months. If we look at the safety, and this is really where you start to see some of the unique outputs of the construct of the product. For CRS and ICANS, we have very low, high-grade CRS and ICANS. That's going to be classified as greater than grade 3 and above. In this chart, we're breaking it out by disease burden. So we're looking at patients that have bone marrow blast counts of less than 20% and patients that have bone marrow blast counts above 20%. The column on the right is the total infused. So we have very low rates of high grade. We only had 3% of high-grade CRS, or 3 patients. When we look at ICANS, we had 7 patients, or 7.4%. But when you look at the bottom here, it really starts to materialize here. Toci and steroid was used to treat CRS in 56 and 17 respectively, which is fairly low. 3% of patients required vasopressors. That's 3 patients out of 94. And then when we look at the high-grade ICANS, 6 of the 7 patients had greater than 70% bone marrow blasts, so very high disease burden. We see that as a predictor of high-grade ICANS based on severity of disease. Some of the conclusions from the data at ASCO, again, the CR/CRI 76%, 97% of responders becoming MRD negative, median of 9.5 months, 61% of responders didn't move on to additional treatment. Very low rates of CRS and ICANS. 31% of patients had greater than 3 prior lines. 33% of patients in this study had greater than 75% bone marrow blasts. These are very sick patients. Robust manufacturing, we had 84% of enrolled patients that received obe-cel. Median vein to release during the middle of the pandemic was 21 days, so that's pretty significant. And then very good engraftment with this product. If we take a look at unmet need, I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this. I think everybody knows that ALL is a very rare disease. It's a very high unmet need. There's about 8,400 new cases of adult ALL diagnosed yearly, 3,000 in this population that are relapsed refractory, significant unmet need. The primary treatment is going to be combination chemotherapy, but even with that, only 30 to 40% achieve long-term remission. We have a couple treatments that are available as standard of care in Blincyto and Tecartus. There's really an opportunity to expand the addressable population with obe-cel based on its clinical profile. Obe-cel has an RMET designation, orphan designation, prime designation, ILAP designation. For those of you not familiar with that, that's specific to the MHRA in the UK, but very well poised and recognized by the regulatory agencies. If we look at some of the value drivers for the relapsed refractory population, I'm going to focus on 2 different buckets, kind of durable and robust efficacy, and then predictable and manageable safety. So when we look at durable and efficacy, we got complete remission rates relative to current standard of care that result in the ability to demonstrate robust cost effectiveness versus chemotherapy, allotransplant, and other therapies. We have comparable remission rates to approved cell therapies that can be combined with an improved safety profile and demonstrate cost offsets and savings. We have long-term efficacy, duration of remission that translates into rest of world effectiveness or real-world effectiveness to address high relapse rates. Lower rates and costs of all adverse events to reduce burden on inpatient site of care where chemotherapy, monotherapy, monoclonal antibodies, and CAR-Ts are most often administered. Low rates of CRS and ICANS of all grades that will result in a strong risk-benefit profile, lower overall total cost of care when differentiating with other CAR-T therapies. You'll see later differences in hospitalization rates, length of stay, so on and so forth associated with the clinical profile. If we take a look at the commercial roadmap and what's on the horizon, as far as next steps for commercialization, we have our manufacturing facility that's up with the ability to generate over 2,000 batches annually. for patients, our BLA filing by the end of the year, our GMP licensing, and then also our EU-UK marketing authorization applications going in the first half of next year. If we take a look at product supply, some of the critical success factors to delivering a personalized medicine, really reliable, timely delivery of every batch for every patient is critical. We all have seen how this has kind of been an issue in the space. We look at three areas: process, people, scalable operations. From a process standpoint, a consistent manufacturing process performance over a wide range of material, consistent short turnaround time, a semi-automated production platform that we utilize to enable product consistency and economies of scale, putting the right team and leadership in place, highly trained, motivated workforce, capacity to match demand. This is absolutely critical, right? So the marketplace wants to know that you're going to be able to deliver for the patients if they're going to bring them to you, and so you have to deliver on that every time. The nucleus is our state-of-the-art manufacturing facility that's located in Stevenage, outside of London. It's a 70,000 square foot facility. It's a modular build, so when I said it only took about a year and a half to stand this up, it's because it's pre-built. All the modules are pre-built. We use the largest crane in the UK to assemble it. Just picture an erector set, and you're kind of putting pieces together, and it snaps in place and plugs and play. On November 8th, 2021, we broke ground. On November 25th, 2022, the first clean room was in operation, and the facility validation was completed in the second half of this year, so very quick. December 14th was our first Prodigy operation. And again, I already talked about the fact that we can generate over 2,000 batches a year. Our target vein to delivery time is 16 days at launch. If we look at some of our other pipeline programs that I referenced earlier, I'm not going to go through all of this because there's a lot on here. The first few you're going to see are going to be kind of the product in the pipeline with obe-cel, where we're looking at other B-cell malignancies. We're looking at SLE for autoimmune, primary CNS lymphoma. We also have a bicistronic CAR in AUTO1/22 for pediatric ALL, AUTO8 for multiple myeloma, which is a CD19 BCMA. We have AUTO4 and 5, which is peripheral T-cell lymphoma. Then we have AUTO6NG for neuroblastoma. Then a really exciting product that I love is AUTO9 for AML, which is a tricistronic targeted CAR with 2 viral vectors. Our upcoming news flow. So this is really what you can expect from now until the second half of next year. We'll submit the BLA by the end of the year here in the US. We'll have a data update at ASH. We'll also have an AUTO8 update at ASH. We'll have autoimmune and auto disease kind of starting that phase 1 in early 24. Then we'll also be seeking marketing authorization applications for EMA and MHRA the first half of 24. And then we have multiple other studies that are going to be kicked off with UCL or University College London. I went through pretty good. I have 1 minute left, 59 seconds. I'm happy to take any questions if anybody has any questions. All right, thanks for your time. Have a good meeting.